4 chilling college true stories. Story 1, The Strange Roommate. Part 1, Introduction. I'm Ethan, a freshman at Binghamton University, fall of 2024. It was my first day moving into the dorm, and my heart was pounding with excitement. College life, parties, new friends, freedom, was waiting for me. My family helped me unpack, set up my single bed, desk, and hang a few favorite posters on the wall. After they left, I stood in the small room, taking a deep breath, feeling the start of a new chapter. The room had 2 beds, 2 desks, and a window overlooking the lush campus. I thought to myself, this will be my home for the next year. But then I remembered, I'd be sharing this space with a stranger, my roommate. I knew nothing about him, only hoping he'd be easygoing, maybe into football, or at least know how to hold a conversation. I'd finished unpacking my side and decided to wait. Every sound in the hallway made me glance at the door, thinking it was him. Finally, in the afternoon, the door swung open. A lanky guy with messy hair and thick glasses walked in, dragging an old suitcase. I smiled, stood up, and extended my hand. "Hey, I'm Ethan." He paused, looked down at my hand as if he didn't understand what I was doing. After an awkward moment, he chuckled and said, "Oh," giving me a limp, almost lifeless handshake. I had to ask, "What's your name?" He replied, his voice soft, "Ryan." I tried to make small talk, asking where he was from, what his major was, what music he liked. But Ryan only responded with short answers, yeah, no, or sometimes just a forced smile, revealing uneven teeth. The conversation lasted less than 5 minutes before we both sat on our beds, opened our laptops, and fell silent. The air in the room felt heavy, like an invisible wall stood between us. I glanced at Ryan, seeing him type furiously, eyes glued to his screen. A thought crossed my mind, I've got to request a room change. Anyone would be better than Ryan. At the time, I just thought he was socially awkward. I had no idea Ryan was far more than that, he was terrifying. Part 2, Building the Scene. The next day, I decided to escape the stifling room to explore campus. Binghamton University was beautiful, with red brick buildings, shaded trees, and the buzzing energy of the first week. I met some people on my floor who seemed friendly and open. There was Alex, a guy obsessed with basketball, and Mia, a girl who loved telling jokes. They invited me to a small gathering in the common room that evening, and I felt relieved. College life seemed to be falling into place, as long as I could avoid Ryan's weirdness. When I returned to the room that evening, Ryan was still in the same spot, as if he hadn't moved. His laptop screen glowed, casting a pale blue light on his face. I said, "Hey, Ryan, you good?" He didn't respond, just nodded without looking up. I shrugged, figuring I shouldn't bother trying anymore. It was 9:30 p.m., and I had no plans, so I turned off my side's lamp and went to bed. Lying in the dark, I heard Ryan's typing, steady like a heartbeat. I tried to sleep, but the light from his laptop annoyed me. Finally, at 3 a.m., he closed it, and I sighed, drifting off. But less than an hour later, I jolted awake. A strange feeling made me open my eyes. Moonlight from the window crept into the room, casting an eerie glow. And then I saw him, Ryan, sitting on the edge of his bed, facing me, eyes wide, staring. My heart pounded. I sat up, rubbed my eyes, trying to keep my voice calm. "Ryan, what are you doing?" He whispered, so softly I had to strain to hear, "Sorry." Then he lay down, turning away as if nothing happened. I lay there, heart racing, wondering if I'd imagined it. But Ryan's eyes, cold and empty, were seared into my mind. I started to think living with him wasn't just uncomfortable, it was frightening. Part 3, Escalation. The next morning, I woke up to find Ryan gone from the room. It was the first time I'd seen him leave, and I felt relieved. I decided to spend the day on campus, attending orientation and meeting more friends. While passing the school gardens, I overheard two students ahead of me whispering, "Did you see that kid? What's he doing in the bushes?" I followed their gaze and froze. It was Ryan. He was sitting in the dirt behind a patch of bushes, rubbing a tree's bark as if caressing something precious. His face was blank, devoid of emotion. The orientation leader didn't notice, but I felt embarrassed that he was my roommate. I turned to the two students, trying to make friends. "That's my roommate." They laughed, apologizing half-jokingly, and we started chatting. They were Tom and Sarah, and we hit it off quickly. That evening, I made plans to hang out with them, feeling like college life was finally coming together. When I got back to the room, I got great news: the school had found me a new roommate. I just had to get through one more night with Ryan, and tomorrow I'd move out. It felt like a weight had been lifted. But my relief didn't last. When I sat on my bed and opened my laptop, I noticed something wrong. All my emails were opened, even ones I hadn't read. Personal folders, photos, school documents, had been accessed too. My stomach dropped. I looked at Ryan, sitting in the desk chair, facing the door. "Ryan, did you touch my laptop?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. He spun around, shouting, "No." So fast I knew he was lying. His face flushed, eyes blinking rapidly. I didn't want to argue, especially with only one night left. I locked my laptop, checked my belongings, and realized my clothes in the drawer had been rearranged too. I told myself, just get through tonight. But that night, I was woken again. A zip sound echoed in the dark. I sat up, heart pounding, and saw Ryan kneeling on the floor, rummaging through my bag. I flipped on the lamp, yelling, "Ryan, what the hell are you doing?" He looked up, pale, stammering, I thought you took my toothbrush by mistake." The excuse was so ridiculous I almost laughed, but his eyes, panicked and sly, sent chills down my spine. I knew he was lying, and I knew something was deeply wrong with him. Part 4, Climax. The next day, I moved to a new room in the same building. My new roommate, Jake, wasn't a social butterfly, but he was friendly, knew how to talk, and most importantly, didn't stare at me like I was prey. I felt alive again. We chatted about football, school plans, and laughed about quirky professors. That night, after turning off the lights, I slept better than ever, thinking my nightmare with Ryan was over. But I was wrong. On the third night in my new room, I woke up at 2 a.m. to a strange sound, a clicking, like someone tampering with the lock. I sat up, listening. The noise continued, faint but steady, coming from the door. My heart raced. I crept to the door, peering through the peephole. The hallway light cast a dim glow, and I saw the top of someone's head. They were looking down, face hidden. The clicking grew clearer, they were trying to pick the lock. Trembling, I grabbed my phone and called campus police. "Someone's trying to break into my room," I whispered, voice shaking. They told me to stay put and they'd be there soon. I stood there, eyes glued to the peephole, heart pounding. The clicking stopped, and the figure vanished. 5 minutes later, I heard footsteps and voices in the hallway. I opened the door to find 2 officers holding Ryan, his hands cuffed. He kept his head down, not looking at me, but I recognized his messy hair and old hoodie instantly. I told the police everything, Ryan's strange behavior, how he went through my laptop and bag, his eerie stare in the dark. They nodded, took notes, and led him away. I stood there, legs shaking, both relieved and shocked. Ryan couldn't handle me moving out, and he tried to break into, do what, I didn't dare think. All I knew was that his fleeting glance, cold and hollow, still chilled me to the bone. Part 5, Conclusion. After that night, I never saw Ryan again. Campus police said he was suspended, possibly expelled, but they didn't share more. I didn't care. I just wanted to forget him, forget his empty stare and the sound of him rummaging in the dark. My college life returned to normal. I grew closer to Jake, joined the intramural soccer team, and fit in with Alex and Mia's friend group. Weekend parties, late-night study sessions, and laughter in the common room made me feel like this was the college experience I'd dreamed of. But sometimes, Ryan crept back into my thoughts. I remembered his eyes in the moonlight, the zip of my bag being searched, and his shadow outside my new room. I wondered what he wanted, why he fixated on me. Maybe he was just a lonely kid with mental issues. Maybe something darker. I didn't want to know. College taught me a lot, how to make friends, how to study, how to survive. But the biggest lesson was that not everyone is trustworthy, even the person sleeping a few feet away. Every time I hear a knock at night, I still jump, check the lock, and pray it's not Ryan. Story 2, The Mysterious Man in the Forest. Part 1, Introduction. I'm Liam, a sophomore at Binghamton University, fall of 2024. After a freshman year full of drama, from stressful exams to fleeting relationships, I'd found two best friends, Noah and Caleb. We were the perfect trio, always hitting up parties, playing pickup basketball, or just chilling with dumb jokes. One Friday night in October, when our bigger friend group had no major plans, Noah suggested, "Why don't we go to the nature preserve by the lake? Just the three of us, build a fire, drink some beers, chill." Caleb and I agreed instantly. The idea of a bro chat night, just fire, beer, and laughter, sounded perfect. We packed a few cans of beer, some firewood, and trekked across campus to the preserve. It's on the edge of the school, far from dorms and streetlights. It's known for being quiet, rarely visited, especially at night. When we reached a clearing by the lake, it was pitch black. Only faint moonlight and the hum of insects surrounded us. We built a fire, sat around the crackling logs, and cracked open our beers. The sound of cans hissing mixed with Noah's laughter as he recounted getting caught sleeping in class. I felt free, like the world was just the three of us and the warm fire. I couldn't have guessed that night would turn into a nightmare. Part 2, Building the Scene. The fire flickered, lighting up Noah and Caleb's faces. We downed one beer after another, our stories getting funnier by the minute. Caleb did a spot-on impression of our chemistry professor, making me laugh until I teared up. Time flew, the beer buzz making everything hazy and fun. The preserve was silent, just the crackle of the fire and our voices. Around us, dense wood stretched out, pitch black, like a wall cutting us off from the world. I liked that isolation, it made the night feel special, like a secret only we shared. But then, Noah stopped laughing. He raised a hand, signaling silence. "You guys hear that?" Caleb and I froze, listening. From the distance, in the darkness, came a rustling of leaves and a crack, like a branch snapping. I shrugged, probably a squirrel or something. But Caleb frowned, whispering, "Sounds more like footsteps." We glanced at each other, a bit tense. Since we were all under 21, we feared campus police patrolling. No one wanted a fine for drinking. I quickly tossed our empty cans into the lake, water splashing. Caleb stuffed the remaining beers into a backpack, and we sat still, waiting. The noise stopped, and I sighed in relief. "Just our imagination," I said, trying to convince myself. But then the rustling returned, closer, like someone walking through the woods. Noah whispered, "What the hell is that?" We stared into the darkness, searching for a sign, an animal, another student, anything. But there was only the sway of trees in the moonlight. My heart beat faster, the beer buzz turning into unease. Part 3, Escalation. The footsteps grew clearer, no longer imagination. They weren't steady, like someone circling us, lurking behind the trees. My hairs stood on end. "Maybe it's a friend from school, messing with us," Caleb said, but his voice trembled. "If it's a friend, why not say something?" I whispered. We sat frozen, hearing only the fire and the rustling. A branch snapped, crack, not far off, making us jump. I started thinking of horror movies, like the Blair Witch Project, where characters are hunted in the woods. But this was real life, and that made it scarier. We whispered, trying to decide what to do. Noah wanted to yell to scare them off, but Caleb stopped him. Don't, what if it's some psycho? I agreed with Caleb, none of us were fighters. The fire was now our enemy, it lit us up but blinded us to the darkness. The footsteps seemed to move in an arc, as if the person was watching us from all sides. I tried to reassure us, probably just a drunk guy, lost. But then a new sound hit, a heavy thud right in the middle of our camp. I looked down, stunned. A large branch, nearly a meter long, lay in the fire, sending embers flying. It didn't fall from a tree, it was thrown. All three of us jumped up, hearts racing. What the hell? Noah shouted, his voice cracking. I scanned the darkness, searching for the figure, but saw only trees and shadows. Caleb whispered, we gotta go, now. But before we could move, Noah panicked, sprinting into the woods toward the dorms. Part 4, Climax. Caleb and I stood there, shocked. Noah. I called, but he was gone in the dark. Before I could react, another branch flew in, hitting Caleb in the face. He screamed, clutching his face, blood seeping through his fingers. I panicked, pulling Caleb up, run. We tore through the woods, branches scraping our faces, running toward the dorms. I heard footsteps behind us, heavy and fast, like someone chasing. My heart pounded, breath ragged. I didn't dare look back, just gripped Caleb's arm and ran. Finally, we reached the road separating the preserve from the dorms. The dim streetlights made me feel safer. We stopped, gasping, looking at each other. Caleb's face was bloody, but he was okay. Who was that? Caleb asked, voice shaking. I shook my head, unable to answer. Then we heard footsteps, from the woods, closer. Without a word, we ran again, straight to the dorms. When we got to Noah's room, we found him there, pale, chugging water to calm down. We looked out Noah's window, down at the woods. A figure appeared, pacing near the road's edge. Every time a car passed, they stepped back into the shadows, like they didn't want to be seen. Finally, the figure vanished into the woods for good. A chill ran down my spine. We didn't know who they were, what they wanted, or why they targeted us. But the feeling of being hunted, watched, made me tremble. Part 5, Conclusion. In the dorm room, we cracked open more beers, trying to laugh off the fear. Noah recounted how he ran like crazy, nearly tripping in the woods. Caleb wiped blood from his face, joking that the scar would make him cooler. But our smiles were forced. The next morning, in the daylight, we realized how terrifying the night had been. We swore never to go back to the preserve after dark. I looked into it and learned the area had a history of unexplained disappearances, though no one could prove anything. That knowledge gave me chills. That night changed us. Our friendship grew stronger, but we became more cautious. No more reckless adventures, no more drunken nights in the woods. I learned that even familiar places can hide dangers. Every time I hear a branch snap outside my window, I think of that figure in the woods, wondering if they're still out there, waiting. Story 3, Dangerous Frat Party. Part 1, Introduction. I'm Tyler, a freshman at the University of Iowa, fall of 2024. To me, college was a giant playground, parties, friends, and new experiences. I'd always dreamed of epic rages, sleepless nights, and the freedom only college could offer. My roommate, Mason, was ambitious. He was dead set on rushing a fraternity to build connections and stand out. I wasn't into joining a frat, but Mason convinced me to tag along to the Rush Week parties. You can't miss this, Tyler, he said. It's the fastest way to fit in. I agreed, partly curious, partly because I didn't want to be alone in the dorm on a Thursday night. Mason planned it out. We'd hit a low-tier frat party first, a backup in case the big frats didn't give him a bid. I didn't know much about fraternities, only that Iowa was known as a party school. As we walked to the frat house, in a sketchy downtown area far from campus, I started to feel uneasy. The house looked like an abandoned apartment, with peeling paint and murky windows. If not for the blaring music and cars parked everywhere, I wouldn't believe it was a party spot. But I told myself, this is college. Gotta try everything, right? Part 2, Building the Scene. We knocked, and a short, chubby guy in a sweaty white t-shirt opened the door. He held a red cup, grinning, "Come on in, brothers." I stepped inside, instantly hit by the stifling air. The living room was packed, swelteringly hot, with about 50 guys crammed together. The lighting was dim, just a few cheap bulbs dangling. I looked around, noticing only 2 girls at the party, neither looking thrilled. This wasn't the glamorous party I'd imagined, no glitz, no fun, just the smell of cheap beer and sweat. I tried to mingle, chatting with a few guys. But they were odd, one rambled about his hometown, another stared at me without speaking. Mason was busy networking with frat brothers, so I stood alone, sipping beer from a plastic cup. The beer was flat, but I downed 5 cups, trying to catch a buzz. After 20 minutes, I was bored. I signaled Mason, ready to leave, but a group of guys blocked the door, making me hesitate. I decided to stay a bit longer, grabbing another beer. Then a heavy-set guy in a wrinkled shirt approached. He handed me a small bottle, smirking, "Drink this, it'll get you wasted." I laughed awkwardly, not wanting to seem weak. He stared, as if waiting for me to drink. I took a deep breath, chugged the bottle, about 2 shots of harsh liquor, burning my throat. He slapped my shoulder, starting to talk. But every time I tried to walk away, he pulled me back, asking pointless questions like, "You like this frat? Got any brothers yet?" I started to feel uneasy. Part 3, Escalation. A few minutes later, something felt off. My head spun, not like a normal beer buzz. The room seemed to darken, the music distorting. I tried to focus, but my legs felt weak. The guy kept talking, but his voice faded, like I was sinking underwater. I mumbled, "I need to go," but he grabbed my arm, smiling, "Chill, brother, have some fun." I pushed him off, stumbling to find Mason, but the crowd swallowed me. Everything blurred, and then, blackness. When I woke up, I was lying on a strange bed in a dark room. The muffled music from downstairs seeped through a closed door. I panicked, sitting up, trying to piece together what happened. My head throbbed, my mouth dry. The room was nearly empty, just a small table and a closet door. Faint light from the door's crack showed I was still in the frat house. But then I heard a sound, a rustling, like plastic being stepped on, coming from the closet. My heart raced. Someone was in there. Part 4, Climax. I leaped off the bed, legs still shaky, and bolted for the door. I ran downstairs, through the drunken crowd, finding Mason near the entrance, talking to a frat guy. I grabbed his arm, yelling, "Let's go." Mason looked confused, but I didn't explain, just shoved him out, past the group still blocking the door. In the car back to the dorm, I spilled everything, the bottle, the dizziness, the dark room, and the rustling. Mason paled, asking, "Were you hurt?" I checked, my clothes were intact, no signs of assault. I sighed, relieved, but still trembling. I checked my phone, only 10 minutes had passed since I blacked out. Maybe the dose was weak, or my body fought it off. But the thought that someone dragged me upstairs, put me on that bed, and might have been in the closet, chilled me. Mason wanted to call the cops, but I stopped him. "It's pointless," I said. "We have no proof." But deep down, I knew I'd escaped something horrific. Part 5, Conclusion. After that night, I swore off frat parties for good. Mason kept rushing, but I stayed away, focusing on classes and close friends. A week later, I read an article online, police were investigating that frat for allegedly drugging students. The news chilled me but confirmed I wasn't imagining things. That bottle wasn't random, and the rustling in the closet might have been someone waiting. That experience changed me. I still love parties, but I'm more cautious now, always sticking with friends and never taking drinks from strangers. College is amazing, but it taught me not every invitation is safe. Every time I hear a rustle in the dark, I think of that room, wondering what would have happened if I hadn't woken up in time. Story 4, The Mysterious Knocking. Part 1, Introduction. I'm Olivia, a sophomore at a northeastern U.S. university, fall of 2024. After a freshman year with a noisy roommate, I opted for a single dorm room. My room was tucked in a secluded corner of the floor, separated from others by a short hallway. I loved the privacy, perfect for studying, having friends over, or just unwinding. The room was small but cozy, with a window overlooking the quad and a desk piled with textbooks. I thought I'd found the ideal spot to balance school and social life. One night in mid-September, I was studying for a biology exam. It was 10 p.m., and the hallway outside was quiet as usual. I had headphones on, focused on my notes, when a sound made me pause. A knock on the door, so soft I barely heard it. I took off my headphones, listening. Another knock, faint, like someone unsure if they should knock. I smiled, thinking it was Mia, my friend from the floor who often dropped by unannounced. "Come in." I called, but the door didn't open. I frowned, got up, and opened it. The hallway was empty, the fluorescent lights casting a cold glow. I shrugged, thinking I misheard, and went back to my desk. Part 2, Building the Scene. But the next night, the knocking returned. This time, I'd just turned off the light and climbed into bed, ready to sleep. The knocks were louder, steady, deliberate. I sat up, calling out, "Who's there?" The knocking stopped, but no one answered. I flipped on the light, opened the door, and looked out. Still no one. I ran to the corner where my hallway met the main floor, but saw only closed doors. My heart beat faster, not from fear but annoyance. Someone was messing with me, and I didn't like being pranked. The next morning, I asked some friends on the floor, Mia, Alex, and a few others. "Did anyone knock on my door last night?" I asked. They shook their heads, looking genuine. Mia joked, "Maybe it's the dorm ghost." I laughed, but inside, I was starting to worry. That night, I left my door open, hoping to catch the prankster. But no knocks came, and I began to think it was just a silly joke. Yet I couldn't shake the unease, like someone was watching me from afar. Part 3, Escalation. On the third night, I woke up at 2 a.m. to knocking, louder, more forceful, like someone pounding. I lay in bed, heart racing, debating whether to open the door. The knocks continued, steady, like a challenge. I took a deep breath, mustered my courage, turned on the light, and opened the door. The hallway was empty, but this time, I heard hurried footsteps in the distance. I ran to the corner, just catching a figure disappearing around the far corner, toward the stairs. Without thinking, I chased after, barefoot, my feet slapping the floor. When I reached the corner, I saw the floor's bathroom door close with a soft click. I stopped, panting, realizing I was alone in the quiet hallway. Adrenaline surged. I was fed up with the prank and wanted to confront whoever it was. I told myself, it's just a drunk kid or some jerk joking around. But deep down, I knew something was off. Part 4, Climax. I pushed open the bathroom door, but the lights were off. I flicked the switch, the fluorescent bulbs flickering before glowing. The bathroom was empty, just 2 toilet stalls and a sink. Both stall doors were closed. I took a breath, stepped forward, and looked under the doors. In one stall, I saw a pair of heavy black boots, standing still. My heart pounded. "Come out, I know you're there." I shouted, my voice shaking. No response. I summoned all my courage, pushed the stall door open. The door swung wide, and I froze. The boots sat on the floor, but no one was wearing them. They stood there, as if carefully placed to trick me. Before I could process it, a laugh echoed, not a cheerful laugh, but a chilling, raspy cackle, like an old man gone mad. It came from somewhere in the bathroom, but I saw no one. I spun around, looking, but it was just me and the boots. The laugh continued, ringing in my head. I couldn't take it. I bolted from the bathroom, ran to my room, locked the door, and dove into bed, heart pounding. Part 5, Conclusion. The knocking came again, about 30 seconds later, but I ignored it. I lay still, clutching my phone, trying to text friends, but no one replied at that hour. The knock stopped, and I heard footsteps fade away. The next morning, I told my floor mates. No one heard the knocks, and they swore they weren't pranking me. I checked the bathroom, but the boots were gone. I learned the hallway had a history of unexplained noises, but no answers. I don't know who it was or why they targeted me. The boots, the laugh, and the knocks haunted me for months. I still live in that room, but I always lock the door, check the hallway before bed. College taught me that even the safest places can hide secrets. Every night, when I hear a small noise, I think of that laugh, wondering if they'll come back.